The air was thick with smoke, but this was no ordinary fire. As the British Empire collapsed, officials launched Operation Legacy, a secret mission to destroy evidence of imperial crimes. Reports of torture and brutal interrogations were fed to the flames. The goal? Erase the evidence, ensuring the world would never know the full extent of the violence. In Kenya, thousands of files vanished. In Malaya, records of counterinsurgency disappeared. Most files were destined for the incinerator, holding the secrets of a system built on coercion. The smoke carried silent stories, a deliberate act of historical amnesia. Yet secrets have a way of surviving, and the ghosts of these burned documents still haunt the present. The secrets of the British Empire aren't just relics, they shape our world today. Wealth inequalities and debates about racial justice are deeply rooted in colonialism. The files they burned explain why the world is divided as it is. The current order was designed to benefit a select few. As the truth about systemic violence and exploitation emerges, the conversation changes. Reparations mean acknowledging historical wrongs and recognizing that wealth was built on suffering and stolen resources. Exposing this history is essential for holding powerful nations accountable and ensuring human rights are truly universal. The British Empire began modestly in the late 1500s, driven by rivalry with Spain and Portugal. Early expansion was commercial, led by corporations like the East India Company, granted royal charters to trade, build forts, and wage war. The goal was profit, and the empire grew through settlement trade and military force. In North America, settlers displaced Native Americans. In the Caribbean, sugar plantations fueled by enslaved African labor generated immense wealth. The Royal Navy protected trade routes, making Britain a global power. Divide and rule became a key strategy, exploiting local rivalries to control vast territories with few British troops. In India, the East India Company played princely states against each other, gaining control over millions. By the 19th century, Britain was the world's superpower, its empire described as the one on which the sun never sets. Expansion was driven by economic interests, strategic needs, and a sense of racial superiority. The Industrial Revolution increased demand for raw materials and new markets. The empire became a global system designed to funnel resources back to Britain. It was no longer just trading posts. It was the world's most powerful engine of commerce and control. The abolition of slavery in 1833 is often seen as Britain's moral triumph, but the reality was more cynical. Slave owners, not the enslaved, received massive compensation, cementing their power for generations. The system of exploitation simply changed form. The Opium Wars exposed the empire's brutality. When China tried to ban opium, Britain fought 2 wars to force the drug trade, gaining Hong Kong and humiliating China. In South Africa's Boer War, Britain invented concentration camps. Over 26,000 women and children died, along with at least 20,000 black Africans. At Amritsar in 1919, British troops massacred hundreds of unarmed Indians. During the Bengal famine of 1943, millions starved as food was diverted for the war effort. In Kenya, the Mau Mau uprising was crushed with systematic torture, hidden for decades by Operation Legacy. These were not isolated incidents, but part of a pattern. Civilians targeted, rights suspended, violence justified in the name of empire. The official story was one of progress. The reality was exploitation and suffering. The empire's darkest chapters were deliberately erased, but their impact endures. Only by confronting these truths can we understand the real legacy of British rule. The British Empire mastered bureaucracy, not just to govern, but to conceal. Official reports used euphemisms to hide atrocities. Massacres became dispersing mobs. Torture became special methods. This manipulation allowed London to deny knowledge, while enabling violence on the ground. Operation Legacy wasn't just about burning files. Many sensitive documents were secretly flown to Britain and hidden at Hanslope Park. For decades, the government denied their existence, telling historians the files were lost. The truth emerged only after a 2011 court case by Kenyan torture survivors forced the release of the Hanslope Park archive. The files revealed systematic abuse in Kenya's detention camps, castration, rape, beatings, all meticulously documented. London knew, and sometimes approved, what was happening. This discovery changed our understanding. Kenya was not an exception. but part of a wider pattern of brutal counterinsurgency. Similar files have since surfaced from other colonies, exposing a dual state, a public face of law, and a shadow state of impunity. The official records were a performance, hiding the machinery of imperial power from the world, and from Britain itself. Behind the burned files are real people whose lives were shattered by imperial violence. Hussein Onyango Obama, Barack Obama's grandfather, was tortured by British authorities in Kenya. His story denied until hidden files proved such practices were widespread. The Windrush generation, invited from the Caribbean to rebuild post-war Britain, later faced wrongful deportation and denial of rights, exposing the hollow promise of imperial citizenship. In Malaya, the British forcibly relocated hundreds of thousands into fortified villages, creating a climate of fear and trauma that lasted generations. These stories put a human face on history, transforming abstract policies into tangible suffering. The Opium Wars destroyed Chinese families. The Bengal famine meant millions like Ananga Manjari Devi watched their children starve. Boer War concentration camps were not just tactics, but places where women like Lizzie Van Zyl died from neglect. Listening to these voices moves us beyond the empire's self-serving narrative. They remind us that the cost of empire was measured in human lives. Only by hearing these stories can we grasp the true impact of imperial rule. The silenced must be heard for history, to be honest. The British Empire's legacy is etched onto the modern world map. Many conflicts today stem from borders drawn by colonial administrators, often ignoring local realities. These lines forced rival groups together or split communities apart, fueling ongoing strife in places like Kashmir and Nigeria. Colonial economies were built for extraction, not local benefit. Raw materials shipped to Britain, finished goods sold back, destroying local industries and creating dependency. Former colonies still struggle with economies based on a few exports, lacking the capital to build stable societies. The transatlantic slave trade and forced migration scattered millions, creating new societies and lasting questions of identity. The empire's legacy includes delayed justice. Victims of violence often died without acknowledgement as evidence was destroyed. The Mau Mau court case brought some justice, but for many, the truth was lost to the flames. This denial of justice created deep grievances and mistrust. The scars of empire are physical, economic and moral, a wound that cannot heal until the full truth is faced. Understanding this legacy is essential for reconciliation and progress. Confronting the dark truths of the British Empire isn't about blame, it's about building a just future. History shapes our present. The inequalities and prejudices born in the colonial era won't disappear on their own. By exposing the sanitized version of history, we can challenge the enduring structures of power the empire left behind. Learning these hidden stories is essential for global understanding and reconciliation. Acknowledging the full story opens the door to honest dialogue and genuine partnership. Facing the legacy of empire is a sign of maturity, not weakness. The tactics of the empire, propaganda, suspension of rights, justifying violence, still echo in today's politics. Studying the past equips us to recognize and resist these patterns now. Bringing the empire's secrets to light restores dignity to the silenced and fills in the missing pieces of our shared history. The past can't be changed, but it can be understood. By facing uncomfortable truths, we commit to justice, truth, and a more honest world for future generations.